has been a week.
Yeah.
So tired, man.
Just one of those weeks where, like, everything happens all at once.
Yeah.
I've had quite the week.
And then this weekend's gonna be crazy.
Badass Film Festival.
Yeah.
We're gonna be there. It's exciting. If you're listening to this, you should probably come out tonight.
If you're in
Vancouver.
Yeah.
But you should, like, drive, so...
So, maybe if you're as far out as Chilliwack?
Yeah, you'll make it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is BC is Creepy, if you haven't figured that out yet.
I'm Topher Graham.
I'm Ariel Hansen, and today we've got an episode.
We do have an episode.
An episode.
I didn't do my research.
Well, that's because it's my episode.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Man, you really are tired.
Mercury retrograde.
That is not a thing. How many times do I need to tell you that, Topher?
Yeah.
Doesn't actually move backwards. It's still moving the same direction it always did.
It's just farther from Earth. What are we talking about today, Ariel?
Well, to take things a little less seriously today, we're talking about a graveyard.
I love graveyards.
Specifically, we are talking about the Ross Bay Cemetery in Victoria.
Nice.
Yeah. So, the Ross Bay Cemetery is located in Fairfield in Victoria, which is actually where my family lived when I was born.
Is that like Victoria is a big space? Is this like outer Victoria, like Saanich?
No.
Or is it like in Victoria?
In Victoria, it's like sort of near downtown. I don't think Fairfield's its own municipality, so it technically is Victoria.
Yeah.
It's like a bay. God damn. The cat is going crazy out there with his toys and his bells, and it's really annoying. I really hope it's not picking up on here.
No. It's fine.
Okay, whatever. Okay. So,
Ross Bay Cemetery.
it is a 27.5 acre cemetery. It is open to the public, but only during the day. It closes at dusk, even though you can get in very easily after that. Don't say that I told you that, but...
So is it like
Oh
gated?
my god!
Jesus. I'm sure he's fine.
Better stop it. Anyways.
Gated community.
No, it's a cemetery.
Gated cemetery. That's a community for, like, dead people.
It doesn't have a gate, as
But
far
it's
as I
closed.
remember. Yeah, well, it's like the park across from me says that it's closed from 10 p.m. till, like, 7 a.m. or something like that.
Oh.
You can
I
still
could totally
walk on
go
it.
drinking in that park.
Yeah, it's just that people could report you for being there.
Rude.
Yeah. Well, apparently there's been a bad history of vandalism with the Ross Bay Cemetery, so that's why they try to have it closed at dusk, technically.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Vandalism like the window.
I guess. I mean, I don't know how that's I don't think anyone broke in here and did anything, so is that vandalism? No.
But, I mean, they left smudges and things on
I'm
you.
sure there's some normal explanation, like when they were cleaning this place before we moved in, it happened, and we just didn't notice it until we were putting the curtains up because we didn't look closely or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives me weird vibes.
Whatever. So, we're in the 1800s for the beginning of this place.
I love the 1800s.
Yeah, so it's the 1870s, and they're running out of space to bury their dead in Victoria, so they have to find a new place.
Is it because of smallpox?
Not really, as far as I know. They just, I mean, no matter what, you're going to keep accumulating dead people.
Yeah. People are always dying.
Yeah. And the cemetery is the one place people are dying to get into. So, first they tried to get property in James Bay, which is, like, near downtown.
Yeah.
Basically, Fairfield is on the opposite side of Beacon Hill Park that James Bay is.
Yeah.
The people in James Bay were like, no, we don't want a graveyard here.
That would be inappropriate.
Yes, it would be an eyesore. So they didn't build it in James Bay, but they were able to buy property off of Isabella Mainville Ross.
There we go. That's why.
Yeah. So the first burial to occur there was the burial of Mary Pierce, which was in December of 1872. But the cemetery never officially opened until 1873. So that was
get
like
in early.
I don't know. They just kept it on the down low. Maybe they were like officially out of room at the other cemetery.
So they were like really scouring.
Yeah, they're like, we need a place to bury our dead. So as you probably have guessed, the cemetery itself is named after Ross Bay, which it is right by the water of. And Ross Bay is named after the woman who owned the property that they bought it from.
Isabella Ross.
Yeah, and so some interesting facts about her. She was the first independent female landowner in BC. She was also... Now, I've got a few different sources said different things about her heritage.
Yeah.
So one said that she was Anishinaabe and French Métis. One or two other sources said that she was French Ojibwe.
Yeah.
Either way, that makes her a pretty badass lady. She's like the first woman
landowner.
And it's not like from being a widow or anything. It's like her land.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And she was First Nations
Yeah.
on top, like part First Nations on top of that. So the cemetery's south side is what part of it faces the Ross Bay. And we'll get a bit into that landscape a bit more later. But I figured we'd talk about Isabella a bit first.
Please.
So she grew up in Ontario, which kind of makes sense given that Ojibwe and Anishinaabe aren't...
BC.
Yeah. So, also French isn't really BC either. So...
No, I suppose we don't. We don't have a lot of Métis people here. Really.
Well, got a lot of people who are like half First Nations.
Yeah.
But it's different.
Yeah.
So, grew up in Ontario, then she moved with her family to Victoria in 1843.
Yeah.
To like help build the fort and everything. But then in 1844, her husband Charles died.
Oh.
Yeah, so they did not have a lot of happy time in Victoria for very long.
It was an exhausting trip.
Yeah. So after he died, she took her children to run a farm in Washington State.
Washington, yeah.
Yeah, so they had a farm there. But in 1853, she moved back to Victoria and she bought a bunch of land.
Nice.
Yeah, so that is when she became that first independent female landowner.
So, I mean, she must have liked it.
Yeah, I guess.
She stayed.
Yep. Stayed here for the rest of her life.
And
yeah.
And nice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it would be creepy if she was still alive today.
No, but I mean, she was buried in her cemetery, probably.
Well, let me get to that.
Fine.
Jeez. No reading my notes and skipping ahead.
No, I just assumed that if you sold some land to people
You were looking over my shoulder at my notes and being like, yeah, I'm right.
No.
Looked like it.
Sorry.
Anyways, so one of the stories that was told about Isabella is that back when she was living in Washington, her farm was attacked by a raiding party from one of the local tribes, but she fought them off with a pike and...
Pike.
Like a long pointy stick, I think.
Cool.
Kind of thing. And that impressed them, and she managed to keep her family safe.
Nice.
Avoided a tragedy there.
And that would be terrifying, actually.
So, in 1876, her son Alexander passed away and was buried in the cemetery.
Oh.
Yeah. And then in 1885, she passed away and was buried across from him.
That's it.
Which leads us into the fact that there are people who believe that Isabella's spirit haunts the graveyard.
Sweet. Did she die, like, in a cool way?
I didn't read anything about that.
No.
Can just assume old age, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's said that her spirit stands out by the shore and stares at the sea dressed entirely in black.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So,
well, if you're gonna stare at the sea, why? She could be looking.
Just that longing. She isn't the first ghost that we've had allegedly staring out at the sea and stuff on this podcast.
No, it's a really poetic image.
Yeah. Anyways, there's a surviving photograph of her from back then. Like, back when she was alive. Obviously, although, taking pictures of dead people was pretty popular back then. In the photo, she's dressed all in black because she was a woman in mourning.
Yeah.
And because this was the Victorian era, so she was kind of being like the queen and just mourning her dead husband for the rest of her life since she never remarried.
That's so sad. You have to, dress in black.
Yeah.
Be solemn.
Yeah. And so that would explain why her ghost is dressed all in black.
Yeah, because she has to mourn.
Yeah, and that's just what she was like for 41 years of her life.
And all eternity of her death.
Yes.
She shouldn't be in mourning if she's dead and,
Well,
with
she
her
might
husband.
not be in mourning anymore. It might just be that she's wearing the clothes that she wore for the last 40-some-odd years of her life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe she just got so used to wearing black, she was like, yeah, I look bitchin' in this. I'm gonna wear black forever.
Maybe she's just, super goth. She's got a
Exactly.
cemetery named after her.
Probably. Now, there have also been alleged sightings of other spirits, which include an older couple, some kids, and a woman looking for her lost kids. But I couldn't find any further information than just that about those.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just random spirits people claim to have seen. Who knows if they weren't just people that they saw and were then looked away, turned around, and all of a sudden they were gone, but it's just that they'd taken a turn the other person wasn't expecting. Who knows? Who knows?
You tell that to somebody who's making a ghost tour. They run with it. It becomes common knowledge.
Yes, it does. But what is kind of cool is we get a throwback.
Yay!
Throwback time to the episode about the skull-faced bishop.
Nice.
Yeah. Because, allegedly, the ghost of David Fee haunts the Ross Bay Cemetery. And
Son of a bitch.
for our more observant listeners who remember things well, David Fee was killed at St. Andrew's Cathedral on Christmas Eve, 1890.
Right. Christmas episode. Beautiful one.
We didn't do that one for Christmas.
No, you're right.
No.
I researched it and asked you if you talked about him already.
And I said yes. So I screwed you over.
You suck.
I'm the worst.
Yeah. Let's get back into it. David Fee.
Oh, well, that's about it.
Yeah.
There's ghosts there.
Yeah.
So, another thing that makes this a spooky cemetery is that because it was, right on the shore, and there were, cliffs and stuff, and they buried people, right up as close to the edge as they could, there were stories of coffins floating out to sea and children playing with the bones of people whose graves had been washed away by the storms.
Bitchin'.
But
that's so goth.
I couldn't find any more information to corroborate this, which weirded me out because I'm if this was true, it would be mentioned on Wikipedia.
There'd be a newspaper clipping.
Yeah.
There would be victims.
Exactly. Yeah, because in our list of potential topics, this is I chose Ross Bay Cemetery because the note we had about it from someone suggesting it to us was the coffins popping out of the ground in Ross Bay Cemetery. But this is the most information I could find relating to that. So
it's another ghost tour rumor.
Probably. But that sort of does fit in with the biggest change that happened at Ross Bay Cemetery, which was in 1990. There were the winter storms that year washed away part of the cemetery that was near the shoreline.
Oh, no.
So in some ways that is true. And what is pretty shitty about it is that the graves that were closest to the shoreline were the Chinese, the Japanese, and First Nations people.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cheaper plots.
I think more so just segregation.
Oh.
However, the Chinese community in Victoria used this as an opportunity to move, as many of the Chinese graves as they could to their new cemetery that they'd bought at Harling Point.
Nice.
It pushed that into motion for them. Something random that I found when I was researching this is that it says that at the time, the cemetery is by Dallas Road, and at the time, Dallas Road ended at Lover's Lane. Victoria had a Lover's Lane.
Cute.
I did not think that was something Victoria would have had. It's now called Memorial Crescent, but I just thought that was funny.
Oh, love is dead, people.
But you can go to Memorial Crescent and be like, we're on Lover's Lane.
And think about veterans, right?
Maybe. It doesn't say what it's a memorial of.
Yeah.
There's non-war memorials.
Yeah.
So, who knows? So after these storms that washed out a bunch of the plots, they built a seawall around Ross Bay to prevent that kind of thing from happening. And they also planted a bunch of trees to keep the soil in place.
Excellent.
Yeah. So good things happened afterwards. But so another random thing that I learned when researching this is that Victoria has an Old Cemeteries Society.
Well, so they'd get together and
they do, I guess, restoration projects at old cemeteries and stuff and just keep them maintained and things. I just found that it's a fun name. And the Old Cemeteries Society counts Isabella's great-great-granddaughter, Fern Perkins, as a member. Full circle.
Yes. When I think about them, Old Cemetery Society, I think of Lions Club, and they'll have black fezzes and little hearses that they can drive around in.
I think you might be getting the Lions Club confused with the Shriners.
Shriners. Lions Club was something we had in Edmonton.
Lions Club is in Victoria too. It's just they're not the Fez ones. No, that's the Shriners, who I think are really old people that are members of the Freemasons.
Yeah. And they have little cars.
Yep, and the parades. In addition to many other things, the cemetery contains war graves for 135 Commonwealth service personnel. Cool. 133 of those people are from World War I, and 2 are from World War II, because they were running out of space by then.
Those must have been the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Or, the first 2 to die in World War II. Maybe not so lucky.
Or the first 2 from Victoria
to die.
Yeah. No, not so lucky.
But they got cool spots in the cemetery.
Yeah. And there were also some famous... Well, of course there's some famous people buried there, because it was the first big cemetery in Victoria. So, a few of the people whose names may be familiar who are buried there is Sir Matthew Bailey Begbie. I believe he was the hanging judge of BC.
Oh.
He was the first justice of British Columbia or something like that.
Bitch.
Emily Carr is buried there.
Yep, know her.
Amour de Cosmos.
I like her name.
His name.
I love his name.
He changed his...
I love it a lot.
That's not the name that he was born with. He changed it to that. But he started the British Colonist newspaper in Victoria, so the Colonist half of the Times Colonist.
Yeah. And
he was also a politician in BC. So he is an MLA and stuff like that, I think.
Amour de Cosmos. Sounds rad.
He was an odd duck. Sir James Douglas is buried there.
Nice. The premier.
No, he was before there were premiers. Sir James Douglas is, like, known as the father of British Columbia.
Oh.
You remember him in your smallpox episode?
Right.
People accused him of the blanket
Right,
thing.
he's from the Hudson's Bay Company.
Yeah.
I love that guy. That guy was dope.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was governor of the colony of Vancouver Island and governor of the colony of British Columbia, and then they fused them together because it's like, it's the same dude. Why have so much paperwork? Let's just make it one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. John Sebastian Helmeken is buried there, and you would recognize the name from Helmeken House.
Yeah.
In Victoria, which is a
restored museum.
It's like a restored house right next to the Royal British Columbia Museum.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I went there as a little kid with my class around Christmas time, and we all dressed up in old-timey clothes, and we had fake names and got to pretend that we were all old-timey children.
Well, you see here, see?
Yeah. Yeah! I had one of the best outfits because my mom was good at that kind of stuff.
Your mom's the best.
She is. The Dunsmuirs are buried there, and they're like rich from coal people. They built Craigdarroch Castle.
I mean, we got a Dunsmuir Road.
Yep.
That's them.
Yep, and Victoria obviously has a Dunsmuir Road.
Yeah.
And also Billy Barker. I believe he was a prospector, and he is the person who Barkerville is named after.
Yeah, Billy Barker. That sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about him before.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
So, circling back to Emily Carr, a lot of people treat her grave as a bit of a shrine to her, and they leave tokens there. But most people believe that she doesn't haunt the cemetery. She haunts other parts of Victoria, like Queen Anne's Academy. Or St. Anne's Academy? St. Anne's Academy.
Yeah.
Not Queen Anne's Academy. Well, I just failed at that circle back around.
Oh, no. Emily Carr hanging out with Queen Anne.
Except no, she's hanging out with nuns.
Yeah.
Speaking of nuns, that makes me think of Satanism. Because of the movie The Nun. And
this place is desanctified.
And so, do you remember that episode we did that was all about satanic ritual abuse?
Yeah.
Michelle remembers.
Yeah, satanic panic. We talking about like 50 children that all got murdered by satanic ritual abuse?
No, we're talking about, this is the cemetery that she claimed that all these weird rituals were happening at, that is like really public and has houses surrounding the whole thing, and like everyone who lives near there can see into it and hear things going on there.
Also, there can't be a satanic ritual abuse happening there because it's closed at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like they'd get in trouble.
Also, I didn't look into it more, but apparently there's like some cult metal band.
Yeah.
That is some, like, I guess they really like Ross Bay Cemetery and hang out there a lot or something. I don't know. I didn't look into that.
I could see that.
A bit more. But, yeah. So this cemetery has connections to so many of our episodes.
Yeah.
So many.
Victoria, basically, it was the centerpiece of BC.
For death.
Yeah. It's also the most haunted city in Canada.
Yeah. So, we got one last thing I want to say about Ross Bay Cemetery.
Yeah.
So, in the 90s, everyone had assumed that the graveyard was full because it was, like, so old and everything and so popular. But, in the 90s, they discovered about 270 unused plots. So, they had a lottery through the city of Victoria. And they sold 7 of the plots in April of 2004.
Yeah.
And an additional 65 plots in February 2007. And I believe that they've probably sold more since then. And the money raised through the plot sales has been used to refurbish the cemetery.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, like, people got a chance to get buried in the cool, famous, like...
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it is a beautiful cemetery. It's got, like, little mausoleums. Not, like, if you've been to the really big cemetery in,
Toronto?
Yeah.
I did. I went when I went there.
As did I. You'll remember those mausoleums are huge. There's nothing that big in Ross Bay Cemetery. No, it's like modest mausoleums compared to that. Because it was more of a frontier.
Yeah.
Anywho, on to the old sources. So we've got miss604.com, visitorinvictoria.ca, Wikipedia, tourismvictoria.com, victoriaheritagefoundation.ca, oldsem.bc.ca, and finally, back by popular demand, The Haunting of Vancouver Island by Shannon Sin.
The book.
Yeah. I felt really connected to Victoria when I was doing this research because I was sitting there, reading this book from my mom, reading about Victoria, drinking the tea that's like the Royal British Columbia's special blend of tea, the museum's special blend of tea. It's all quite nice.
You were set.
Yeah, just chilling out.
Nostalgic, thinking of home.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, plugging things we're going to, plugging things we're playing at. We are at that time in the episode.
So, tonight, it's badass. It's going all weekend. Go.
Yeah, we have stuff playing on Saturday, stuff playing on Sunday. The awards are on Sunday, which we're up for a couple.
Yeah. Best writing for Nepenthes and your screenplay.
Yeah, and the screenplay competition is one of the finalists. And both our films are up for Best Local Short.
Yeah. So that's The Devil and I and Nepenthes, and Parlor Tricks is playing at Badass.
Yeah.
I think that's before Amazon Hotbox on Saturday.
Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't remember. But
we don't have the schedule in front of us.
No, but go. Badass is great.
We'll be there.
Yeah. It's
for most of it.
Yeah.
And then the day after Badass, Nepenthes is playing in San Francisco at the Weird Film Fest. So go to that if you're in San Fran. Or in California and close enough to get to San Fran.
Weird Film Festival. That sounds really fun.
It does sound really fun. I wish that I could go.
Yeah. Sending our love to the States.
Yeah.
Lord knows you need it.
Yeah. And anything else that we need to talk about before we get off here? I take your silence as a no.
Yeah, I don't.
So, social media stuff.
We are on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Vimeo, Patreon. And for all those things, you want to look up Bad Cookie Pictures. You don't want to look at BC is Creepy. Because we are busy people. We can't have social media presences for both Bad Cookie Pictures and BC is Creepy. That would take up too much time. So, Bad Cookie Pictures is everything we do. That includes short films, 360 films, this podcast. We do short film reviews, women in horror interviews.
And a special thing that Topher's gonna announce soon, but it's still not ready yet.
I swear, like next weekend.
Sure. And for Patreon, if you become a patron, you get bonus content. As our patrons will know, we sometimes are able to do bonus content from the podcast to give them cool stuff. We do extended cuts of our interviews on there, so the patrons of our Patreon get to know more about the guests we have on the interview show than the general public does.
You do get access to our special Discord.
Yep.
Which is literally just direct chat with us.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we want to start adding more stuff to the patron or to the Patreon for what we can do, but we need to have more people engaging, I think, for things like movie nights and stuff like that.
So get on with us. Start
even if you just give $1 a month, that still gets you access to stuff.
Absolutely. And we're always super appreciative.
Yeah.
You can get a shout out on our podcast.
Yeah, you do get a shout out on the podcast. So there's always that. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, if you want to find Topher on social media, how can they find you?
I am on Instagram as Sneezing Wolf, so you can find me there. I'm not really on Twitter, but reach out. You can talk to me. I love it.
Yeah. And then I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as @Hanson'sHorror.
Wonderful.
And so that would be about it. I guess there's only one thing left for people to do.
Stay creepy. Ariel,
Yeah?
we need to talk about your arm. What is this?
I don't know.
You pulled your sleeves up during the sources.
Yeah, my arm was kind of itchy.
Yeah, of course it's itchy. There's like burn marks. Like, whose hand is this?
How would I get burned by someone's hand?
I don't know, but
I'm sure like
weird.
maybe like I was just holding my hand weird when it was really sunny out like last week or something, and I got a sunburn.
Sunburn doesn't show up opposite. Like,
I don't know.
Doesn't show up. You're not getting like branded, are you? Like, is this?
Why would you think that?
I'm worried. This is fucked. I don't know. You were going off at the cat. You got the. It's weird.
I'm sure it's nothing. Like, just fine. I am not gonna pull my sleeves up around you ever again.
Okay. Well.
Because, like, there's nothing wrong.
Okay. It's fine. Just watch out.
You watch out.